welcome to the stage Anil Varanasi.
Hello. Welcome to MeterUp 2025. I am super excited. Thank you all for coming. It's great to see how much this has grown since last year to now, and so many great luminaries of our industries and practitioners here. We have many customers here, partners here from schools, warehouses, life sciences labs, retail, hospitality, data centers, everywhere. But one of the things that we really hope you all do is not just learn from what we're doing and get feedback from you on what we should do better, but also talk to each other. We want MeterUp to be the place where people that care about networking convene, and we hope to do more and more of this. We think networking is very important. My excitement for this usually is the fact that we get to hear from each of you about what we can do for the next year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. But I wanted to start off by making it very clear that Meter is a networking company. There's not a lot of these networking companies today. And it's really interesting because it's one of the largest markets in all of technology, and it's growing incredibly fast, but there don't seem to be any new networking companies coming in each year. It's probably the most scathing review against the efficient market hypothesis, the fact that, why is this happening? The other thing we do that is core to us is we move packets, and we love moving packets. We think it's really important to do that really well, from how to think about the hardware and other things you'll see today. But we're also at a point where we're comfortable talking about what we've done, and we want to do a lot more of that and bring you guys in, and I'll go through some of what we're going to do for the next few years as well. These days, if you walk around the Meter office, there's sort of this subdued pride about what we're doing and excitement. And folks at Meter have been working really hard. And I'm really proud of the work they've done across hardware, software, operations, models. And I can't wait to hear from all of you what you think based on what you see and what you touch today. This crowd probably knows this intimately, but everything in the world is packets. Regardless of what type of work you do, it is just packets all the way down. And I feel very fortunate that we get to contribute something to that. But that's core to what we do, is we move packets in every way possible. The dependency on networking is growing a lot. And we see this from how fast the markets are growing, but every part of it is just networking is growing a lot. But the number of people coming into networking is actually going down. A lot of you are old like me and maybe older like Drew. But today, if you go to any of our great computer science schools and you ask them, hey, what do you think about a Switch? They probably think you're talking about a Nintendo Switch. They've never even seen one. And I know, sadly, this happened to me when I was trying to recruit someone from Stanford. This actually happened to me. But the other thing that is interesting is the innovation seems to be sort of stagnant on hardware, on protocols, and what it takes to build something great. And this is what emboldens us more than anything, that we can contribute something to it. One of our theories on why this happened is in the last 40 years, majority of networking was built through acquisitions. These are sort of seemingly puzzles that are put together from very different puzzles each time. And it's incongruous to us to why that until Meter came along, nobody's built the entire stack. These are some of the largest companies in the world and some of the greatest networking companies ever built. They're just very different from Meter. The problem is, if you look at somebody like Arista, they're sort of very concentrated on the hyperscalers. And yeah, if you're one of the hyperscalers, it's great. But if you're not, which rest of us are not, by definition, there's only a couple of them. Palo Alto sort of seems to be running this playbook of the 90s from Cisco, where they just buy a bunch of companies and package the sales and marketing. And Cisco defined a lot of what happened in the industry. Without Cisco, a lot of progress probably wouldn't have happened. And a lot of the internet build-out probably wouldn't have happened at all. But in recent times, they've acquired hundreds of companies. And that's not a number that I'm like exaggerating. It's hundreds of companies. And I shudder to think about is how many hours lawyers build for this all over. Only if you don't work in technology would you think you can actually combine these different products, these different software platforms, hardware platforms together. It's sort of like mixing oil and water. It doesn't really happen. But what we set out to do is build networking. And we think networking should be built, not bought. And this is doing everything from the ground up. What we have today that's remarkable is across hardware, firmware, operating systems, software, APIs, models. It's a single unified stack. And those of you that have been around networking for a long time, you know how unique that is to do for the entire rack. And there's tremendous amount of benefits for customers because majority of issues in networking happen because of configuration issues and compatibility issues. We've solved that. And this is working at a scale that unless you've been paying attention to us, especially in the last year, you probably don't realize the scale of Meter. These are some of the most demanding networks in the world, everywhere. And every single one of them runs an entire Meter stack. Every single one of them. That's also super unique, as you all know. Usually it's a hodgepodge of things everywhere. And the clip at which we're deploying now soon is going to be in tens of millions of square feet a week. And that's not a scale anybody's ever done before Meter. And this takes a tremendous amount of work from us, but also our partners do a lot for this. Our partners mean a lot to us and our customers. This is everything from what we do in ISPs and deployments and our chips and our manufacturing, but also it's integral to how we grow. Seeing the channels outpouring support of Meter in the last 9, 12 months has been really interesting to see, and it's been great. So we want to go far, and the way we do it is we do it together. And I'm really excited to announce a partnership with Lumen today, where they're going to combine what they do great on bringing fiber, they're one of the great fiber networks, with what we do on the entire networking stack side. Kate Johnson, who's Lumen's CEO, and I will be talking about this later today a bit more. But customers can now purchase what Lumen has and the Meter network all together. And this isn't just like an announcement. It's actually live today, so you guys can all go use it and think about it as great pricing and visibility, all from the ISP to network combined together in a single place. I do want to switch gears a little bit, though. And one of the things we try to do internally is have at least a directional sense about what we're trying to do with urgency as much as possible. And what I wanted to do is give a little bit of a preview of that, of how we think about it internally to all of you. The next 1,000 days are probably going to force the networking company that will be around for the next decade, 2 decades. I don't know how many people actually understand that. Literally over the next 3-4 years, it'll be set what's the company that is the definitive networking company, which is so important to get right for the coming decade or 2. The work we've done over the past decade has put us in a great position on how to do this, but there's a tremendous amount of work we have to do to actually achieve that. So I actually wanted to give you a preview of where we're going to spend our time, where we're going to spend our resources, where we're going to spend our capital. And there's 3 sort of important philosophies I want to go through. And so that you all understand how we think about what we should be doing. So first, we want to get the basics right. Second, it's how we scale software. And third, really thinking about how do we do this autonomously. So on doing the basics right, Our industry is buzzwords, acronyms, et cetera, et cetera. Sometimes I don't even understand. Somebody said something to me yesterday. I thought they were saying something bad to me. It was an acronym. It's remarkable how many acronyms we have. And it's just like this alphabet soup that happens a lot. Alan Kay had this quote 50 years ago while he was working at Xerox PARC, which is people who care about software build their own hardware. And we think this is now true more than ever. And we think it's really important. So one of the first things in doing things right and doing the basics right is we do not believe hardware should be commoditized. Something happened to all of us that we've gotten into this trance where all these legacy companies told us hardware is commoditized, and we just like, yeah, you're right. But of course they're going to say that. Their incentives are totally different. One, they're trying to make hardware for as cheaply as possible. Two, they're trying to sell it for as much as possible. That's their business. That's the margin. And three, with ever so imperceptible differences, they want to sell you new hardware every year. And, looking at these model numbers, it's sort of like reading hieroglyphics. And I think you need like a linguistics PhD to discern a bunch of this. By the way, we're not being unkind. These are not names we made up. These are real names of products. Honestly, I don't even know we could do it if we tried to come up with some of this stuff. We just don't have the phenotypes to do these kinds of things. And hardware should be beautiful. It should feel like cathedrals and circuits and materials that make sense. And hardware should last. And you should feel a certain way about hardware when you see it and touch it. We've got some great things to preview for you today, and I'm really excited to hear what you all think on that. Building on that K quote, one of the things we believe deeply at Meter is that the people that build the hardware and software should be the ones responsible for it. Even some of the greatest technology companies that build hardware don't mess with real-world operations. It's hard. It's really, really hard. And in an industry where vendors sell you a box and they sort of wash their hands, and then you have to like wrangle this TAC thing. I still don't know what tax stands for, by the way. It's been 20 years. And it's sort of hard to figure out all these licenses and other things. And sales and things will push you to a certain direction. Not only do we build the hardware and software ourselves, we think we're responsible for it. And that's a very different way of thinking about networking. Very different. At Meter, operations is a product. We actually think about this as a way that we have to learn from how these products are deployed, how they're maintained, and how it can be lasting infrastructure. It's what drives us into what we do differently each year in hardware and software and how it comes together. But it is really hard to do this. Think about the clip at which we're deploying now. And so many of you have deployed networks, how challenging that is to do at scale by being the same company that does the hardware and software. But we think it's a remarkable moat for us. But more than anything, we think our customers and partners benefit from this deeply. And it's something we plan on investing a lot, and you'll hear a lot more about some of the ambitious things we plan on doing over the next year, 5 years, 10 years. But deeply, operations is a product at Meter. A lot of the benefits that come from this is vertical integration is not easy. It's not for the faint of heart in any way. We not only think it's necessary, but we think it can be a huge advantage to do this in a great way. We have some announcements today on the networking side that you all will see. But as a primer, cellular is a product we announced in the last year and a half. It's become a beloved product, which is doing indoor cellular as easy as Wi-Fi. And it's a lot of benefits for our customers and partners, and we're collaborating with all three carriers to do this. Connect makes it easy to get ISP pricing and delivery for it. And what's interesting is this is also another product that only Meter does in all of networking. And again, it's confusing to us because how can you have a great network without having a great ISP? And certainly you can't have a great Meter network without it, because we think about this as an entire network. integrating the entire stack throughout. Usually when networking products are built, when you're building a new product, you have to do it from the ground up every time. Every time. You have to rebuild it over and over again. One of the interesting things we've done is how to think about decoupling this hardware and software so that we can scale it. And Sunil's going to go through this a little bit later on how we think about this architecture and how we've actually built this. But it's a single operating system that goes through the entire stack. And as an example, I can pull out my phone right now and configure thousands of pieces of hardware and networks entirely virtually. And when the hardware is plugged in, the state is just gets down. This gives us many advantages to be able to do things that otherwise aren't possible. Again, it comes from the fact that we want to have software that's great, hardware that's great, but one thing should not hold the other back. And apart from making these things easier, there's some really ambitious things you'll see us do. And it sort of put us on a path that was fait accompli for Meter for a long time, is I think we'll finally be able to do what a lot of us wanted for a decade or two. And we probably still don't think and believe that it's possible to do, is to have a single platform that can go from 1 gigabit a second to 1 terabit a second and beyond. Think about this. You're one of our customers that has 1,000 locations in retail, and you're building your own data centers. All of that can be one single platform and a single dashboard to maintain that for the entire thing. Usually that's about 10 to 50 companies that have to come together to be able to do that. And we've spent many years building this mature platform, many, many years. And having this unified platform means we hope you get to benefit most from it. It enables us to listen to what you all are saying and actually make changes. And we try to figure out how we can do faster and faster. But I think one of the beautiful things that's starting to happen in the last year and a half that I expect to have an increase in velocity is because of the investments we've made, how much faster we can go from it. We're also really excited about all the things we have in development in R&D, and I can't wait to show all of you. But one thing in particular that I've been thinking about for the last 15 years, I want to talk about a little bit today, and go a little bit deeper into why we're doing certain things and what you'll see from us over time. As I mentioned, the number of networking engineers is going down in the world, not up, even though number of networks, data, devices, and applications are growing. Something like 25% of all network engineers are retiring by the end of this decade. And that doesn't even include all the new ones we'll need. This is just replacement rate. If you go look at Bureau of Labor Statistics, after software engineers, network engineers is one of the highest number of jobs. So how do we figure out, as an industry, but also as somebody that deeply cares about building this hardware and software, to help with this? And we want to figure out how to build models from the ground up, and you're going to see some of this today. We think it will be incredibly accretive not to just networking, but all of compute. If networking gets better, compute gets better. And that's been an equation that's true for a long time. And later today, I'm going to talk to Bob Metcalf about that and what he's seen over time. But this is something that's always been true. If networking gets better, compute gets better. So we're building models from the ground up to do the three things that are core to networking, which is designing networks, configuring networks, and managing networks. And you'll see products from us today. Later, Natan's going to go through this. But it is really cool, and I am really excited to hear about what you all think and what we can do, given the position we're in, to be able to do it. So we saw this happen actually in autonomous vehicles, where progress seems much faster in the last 5 to 7 years. But one of the main reasons this was possible is if you look at companies like Tesla and Waymo, is they have a couple of ingredients that drive all of this. They control the entire stack. This is from hardware up. Instead of having thousands of suppliers for things, It's a very integrated stack. Second, each piece of hardware sends back enormous amounts of data. And third, you need a lot of compute. Meter is in a very unique position to do this, and probably the only company in networking that can do this, which is we control the entire stack, as we talked about. This data platform that we build, and we're building more, is collecting all of this. And with our partnerships with with companies like Microsoft, we have a great partner in building out this massive amounts of compute. You know, I think we have this like deep obsession that this thing has to be built from the ground up. We believe that the industry is sort of at a crossroads right now, where not that many people want to be a networking company. Not that many companies seem to like love networking as much as we do. But we just want to build beautiful products. And beauty for us isn't just pixels or how it looks, but also how it feels and, you know, when you touch it, when you see it. And we think infrastructure can be, and maybe it should be, beautiful all the time. So, you know, if any of us look back in the last 40 years and we said, hey, this is how networking is going to be built, where we're just going to piece a bunch of things together, that's not probably how we would have done it. None of us would make that choice. And we think it's important to figure out how do we course correct at this point. Because we believe internet is one of the greatest forces of good that's ever happened. You know, you put better internet infrastructure in a school, test scores go up. You do that in factories, productivity for factories go up. And it's sort of the kernel that started Meter. And, you know, we hope you do this with us for the next decade and beyond. Because one of the simple ideas that we started Meter with is that we all will use internet more than we currently do today. And we don't take this lightly, and we don't take it lightly that you all trust us with critical infrastructure. We understand how important it is that Meter does a good job for all of you to do your work. We just think we're really fortunate to be able to contribute to something like this and help grow one of the greatest inventions possible with networking at its core. Thank you.